Should have tied my hair up before I picked up the phone.
Oh yeah, I get it done. No worries.
All furious, I'm starting to spaz. Getting all curious, you put me on blast. Blasting that Darius, kids in the back. Back to the future is black. Black like T'Challa, Wakanda attack. Oh. East Coast with the gang, 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 gang. West Coast with the gang, 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 gang. Lover with the gang, 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 gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, 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 gang. West Coast with the gang, 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 gang. Lover with the gang, 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 gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, 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 gang. West Coast with the gang, 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 gang. Lover with the gang, 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 gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang. East Coast with the gang, 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 gang. West Coast with the gang, 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 gang. Lover with the gang, 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 gang. You know we don't play gang, gang, gang.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testing, 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 test ickles, testing, test ickles, a test ickles, a test ickles. Welcome everyone to episode 887 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular swolecast, beardcast, broadcast, gangcast, mancast, pimpcast, and sleazecast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps, and I am just going to jump right into it. I'm going to bring him on right now. He's waiting patiently in the corner like a good boy. No, I'm kidding. What's up, Steve?
Hey man, how are you?
What's going on? All right, so we're live now, and I was just letting everyone know that the nips are out, the guns are out, and Steve is back. So for those of you that didn't catch, I actually didn't remember. Do you remember the number of the episode? Do you remember when you were on? Was it in the 800s?
It was in the, I want to say it was in like the 780s.
All right, so someone can have some homework out there if you want to go.
Like 100 from now.
Yeah, someone go do your homework and go check it out. So Steve was on a few months ago, and he had a couple issues with his back, and we were talking mobility, we were talking yoga, and we were talking meditation and getting more involved with fitness, etc. And we're just chatting for a few minutes before the show today. So if you have questions, drop it down, and welcome Facebook, Instagram, or not Instagram, but everyone else besides Instagram, because we do the calls and we can't share with IG. So. But Steve doesn't care about Instagram, which is great, because no, I'm just joking. So anyway,
Don't tell him that.
Yeah, don't tell them that. They're gonna hate me. So anyway, let's take a moment, introduce yourself, and give a little brief background for those that didn't catch the last episode, and we'll just jump right into it.
For sure. So, if you didn't catch last time, I talked about how I had lost 100 pounds from 2014 to 2015, and had went back to school for fitness and everything like that, and got my bachelor's in exercise science, and big anatomy kinesiology guy. So trying to break out into the fitness field for profession-wise. And when I was getting ready to graduate in college, just this past December, I had gotten pretty complacent, put on some weight, and then went through some shit. It's been a tough year. I don't need to go into all that, but yeah, it's just been a grind since January, and I introduced yoga and meditation to my programming, and really changed my nutrition up more so than I had in the past. Like, I just wanted to see how things would affect my body, and I'm seeing really, really good results. In January, I was up to around 240. Now I'm in the 180s, so like upper 180s, like 188, 189. Really close to that 50 pounds loss since January mark. I try not to get a big ego about it because it's still weight that I put on from the last time I lost it.
Right.
The weight that I see now, like at 188, 189, is completely different how I look in the mirror than what I was when I went back to school. So it's like I've got more muscle definition. I've got less body fat. It's amazing the different results that I'm seeing now compared to then.
Yeah, it's really when people look at weight loss in terms of composition, you think about, okay, I'm putting on muscle. You look at two people, one's 180, never worked out, one's 180 and works out 6 days a week. Completely different and much more different than most people think. They're like, all right, well, like one person will look like thin and like ripped. The other person will look like a balloon. It's a huge, huge difference. So you just put on more muscle than you had before the first time you lost.
Yeah. The biceps and triceps are usually out in full force, and now that it's winter, or almost winter, I'm starting to get a little sad because that means I got to start wearing long sleeves again.
I was just having a conversation yesterday about that. I was thinking because, as you know, I was just out of town. I was up in Connecticut, and we were chatting about the woods, and we can get into that a little bit more in a minute. But I was thinking about if I wanted to live somewhere else. Like, okay, I don't know if I want to live in the middle of nowhere again, but I love the warm weather. So maybe Florida is right for me because I feel like working out more when I'm in the warm weather. It was the altitude, it was 2,000 feet above sea level, and I'm usually at or below sea level in Florida. And I felt just stiff. I felt like shit. Honestly, I felt like shit all week. I did yoga and I managed to do some mobility, but I felt like crap with like the cold, the lack of humidity, and the elevation. I did not acclimate at all. It usually takes a couple of weeks, of course, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to live anywhere where I can't just be like I am right now, shirts off, and it's like hot, and I always feel like pumping because you always got to show that skin, man.
Right. Yeah, I feel you. I've my goal is to either be in like Colorado or California.
Colorado's beautiful, man. Frank's out there.
That's just the way I want to go.
Frank's out there. He's did a call with him a little bit after years for the first time, and he had massive weight loss. He's out in Colorado. It's gorgeous. I always see pictures from my friends that are out in Colorado. It's so nice. I mean, I think that's the ultimate state if you want to do. I mean, I guess unless you want to do summer sports all year round. If you want the blend, if you want to do mountain biking and like whitewater rafting and skiing, and you want to do stuff in the summer, it's just, there's so much land. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm huge into the mountains, and I want to learn to snowboard. And I just like think of going like to Aspen and snowboarding down the freaking mountain. It just sounds like, it sounds like a blast.
Yeah, make sure you know what you're doing before you go down that. I remember first time snowboarding. No, it's cool. I grew up skateboarding. Now, it wasn't really that good, but I was familiar with the type of moves. So 2 days on the mountain, just falling down a lot, and you're fine. As long as you learn how to carve in the basics.
No big deal.
Yeah, you don't need to learn how to do jumps and tricks and shit. I mean, if you go that route, but all you gotta learn is how to stay up, and you'll be fine. So getting to your training. So the first time you lost, and then you gained. The first time you lost, you weren't really doing lifting, correct? Because you said you were softer. You weren't like a solid 180, or in the 180s, you mean?
Yeah, I was semi-solid. I didn't lift as much as I do now. I was big on cardio. Like, it's weird because you brought that up. I saw a post on like my memories in Facebook that like on this day, in 2015, I posted that I had ran like 16 and a half miles in that week. And I was, and at that time I had fallen in love with running. I had, I knew what that runner's high felt like, and I was seeing results. So that's what I did. And then after a while, I started to lift 2-3 days a week, or sometimes I would run from work to the park and then go back, and then I go lift for 45 minutes and be dead to the world for the next 12 hours. But now I don't freaking do cardio at all. Like, people ask what I do for cardio, and I'm like, I walk on the incline treadmill like 2 days a week if I want to get a good sweat.
That's good. That's good. That's what I do a lot of times for, I like the step mill, the rotating stairs, but if those aren't available or I just don't feel like it, I walk on an incline. I used to do that regularly. That's one of the, that's a great way to do a casual warm up and get the legs loose. If let's say you have knee problems and you can't do the stairs, or it's a high risk because, some people might have issues where, you can't get up on the stairs or your knee bothers you or something like that. But yeah, walking on incline is great. What was the time
like
frame? What was the time frame between the first time you lost weight and this time?
So I went from May of 2014 to May of 2015. I dropped like 112-ish pounds. And then this time I've dropped almost 50 since January to, I guess you could say today-ish. So about 10 months.
But it wasn't.
It's been different.
Yeah. Well, you're not losing. Are you just going by 50 pounds? Absolutely, right? You're not talking about body composition because obviously you put on more muscle.
Right. 50 pounds number on the scale, but the thing, like, after we talked a couple months ago, like back then I was focused on like number, and now it got to the point where I started getting obsessive about getting on the scale, and I was like, why this doesn't measure body fat that I'm losing and muscle that I'm putting on? So why am I focused on an arbitrary number when that doesn't tell me that it tells me that I'm not seeing progress when realistically I'm seeing slow progress, you know?
I mean, the scale can be encouraging, but it can also be it can really set you back if you're looking at it. If you're looking at it and you're not seeing that change right away, well, that doesn't mean you're not putting on muscle, especially when you have a lot of extra fat to lose. That's when people are most primed to be able to put on muscle and lose extra body fat. When you have that extra load that you're carrying around, your body wants it off, and you'll gain while you're losing. In many cases, when you're getting back into it, you're just increasing a resistance training program, and it's important to be aware of that. But if you're like that first time, and like many people, if you're going after the number, very, very easy to get disappointed. And that's why I always say fuck the scale, because if you just go at it the right way, you'll lose that weight. But it's very hard for people to put in effort and not quantify it or not measure it. So then people get into that over measuring habit.
Yeah, that's for sure.
How many times were you weighing?
I caught myself doing that a couple times.
How many times were you weighing like a week? How were you? Like, do you remember? Probably daily.
I think it got to a point where it was 3-4 times a week, and then I was just like, okay, I need to back off. Like I always try to weigh in on Friday at the end of the week. Usually I try to weigh in on Monday just to give myself an idea of where I'm at to start the week. But anymore now, it's like Monday here, Friday next week, Monday the following week. It's so sporadic now. Or sometimes like I know if like, so on Sunday I splurged a little bit and had pizza and ice cream and then felt freaking miserable for the rest of the night.
Damn, you went all in.
And that was the first time I'd had any food like that in a month and a half, 2 months, you know, and I was just like, man, it's like within the hour, I was just like, I felt like I was on my deathbed. It's like, ugh, it was horrible. Like 10 out of 10, do not recommend. But it was, so I got on the scale Monday just to kind of see what kind of water damage I had done. And then I got on today to see if I had gotten rid of it. So I probably won't weigh in until late next week, maybe.
I think there's something to be, I usually talk about not cheating, but it's all relative to what you can handle and what you enjoy. You know, if a pizza meal keeps you on point and you can get away with it and you've proven this, I mean, who am I to say that you shouldn't do it? Eating pizza once a month you can't say that's going to give you cancer. You can't say anything like that, right? I mean, there's really you can't just throw around random facts or just demonize cheat meals. I just use it from the psychological standpoint, which we'll talk more about in a minute, with like how powerful the mind is. But when you're on track, I think even for me, I on purpose sometimes stray from, like, over this past week, I had some beer and I just wanted to, you have to remember where you're coming from, because it helps reinforce you. And oftentimes it just shows, yeah, this is not for you. Remember this is like, and you're like, oh yeah, kind of like dip your toe in the water and you feel how hot it is, kind of thing. And when you get that perspective again, it just refreshes you. Like that pizza meal that made you feel like death, you're not likely to next week go and pound pizza and ice cream. You're probably gonna be like, nope, I definitely don't want that. You lose that craving.
Right. I definitely agree. I know we talked last time you brought it up about like cheat meals every week, and I don't cheat meal every week. I'm lucky if I cheat meal like once every month anymore. But you were like contributing it to a percentage, and you know, with eating shit foods, you often don't just feel the effects that night. You're seeing the effects 2 to 3 days afterwards. So like you're still bloated, or you're still holding on to water, you're still got the sweats, or you know, however your body reacts to it.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's just like, okay, yeah, definitely don't do that. So anymore, I'm just, if I splurge a little bit, it's a quick snap back to reality. There's an 8 Mile reference. It's a quick snap back to what I'm doing, because I don't want to feel shitty. I don't want to have this acid reflux. I don't want to have to take an acid reducer just so I can not feel bloated. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
and then it gets to the point where you're drinking water, and water is making you feel shitty. Like holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, that episode you're referring to, a lot of people messaged me after that one. It was, if you cheat once, let's say a cheat meal counts as a cheat day, just because like a day that you cheated, that's 14%.
Right.
That's 14% of your week. Puts into some massive perspective when you think, shoot, if I'm only putting in 86% effort, what do I really expect? And that's, yes, it can be, that's a very dramatic way of looking at it. But if you're cheating all day, and a lot of people do, I mean, you might be doing a little junk all the time, but you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's not, I mean, for the average person, that's probably being very, very generous, saying 14%. It's probably more like 30, 40, 50 or plus. But if you're doing 14%, you're really only putting in 86%, and you're not getting what you want, then you need to step up your game. If you can, a lot of people can get away with one cheat meal a week. Maybe once you get used to it, once you get going, once you get momentum, when you're training all the time and your body is used to recovering, you're used to going to the gym, you're used to the same foods. Like for me, if I went out and had a slice or two of pizza tonight, I might feel like crap, but it's not like I'm going to lose my physique overnight. But most people, it sends them down the wrong path. It sends them down into the next meal, and you fall off the wagon, so to speak. And like you mentioned, there are, I guess, latent effects. It's not just you eating in the moment. You have the gratification and the taste good in the moment, but then you felt like death afterwards. That's not while you were eating it. That's while it was still in your system. So for 2 or 3 days, psychologically, you feel like shit. You feel like you fucking hurt your body. You feel like you set yourself back. And then physically, you might have negative reactions because you're not eating those foods all the time, and they can cause a lot of havoc. So it's psychological as much as it is physical. And in many cases, it's just not worth it. If you're eating the foods that you enjoy, you don't look for that kind of entertainment. So like, what are you eating now? Like, what are the meals because I've been talking a lot recently about being consistent, and that if you're consistent with your food, you're not going to have those kinds of cravings. And I eat, grass-fed beef and sweet potatoes and these things regularly, like really, really consistently. This is what I pretty much eat all the time. And I never, today I just splurged and I ate double what I normally do. No, I get full. I don't want more of it, because your taste buds aren't stimulated. They're used to those foods. You eat it and you move on. So it's more like a fuel. I enjoy the foods, but I don't crave excess. It's not like chocolate and chips or something where my brain doesn't shut off and I have to keep on eating salty, sweet, salty, sweet. So what are you eating? So in other words, consistency is the key. If you're eating foods that you enjoy that are good for you, stick to that, because you're going to be more consistent over the long term and you're going to get results. And some of those other details don't matter as much when you are just ruthlessly consistent. So what do you find makes you or keeps you consistent? What are your meals now consist of?
Quite honestly, it looks a lot like what you eat. I've just kind of taken your inflammatory food advice. So I eat a lot of sweet potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Eggs. Eggs I usually eat for breakfast if I have them. Nitrate-free bacon, so it's got like like not a lot of sodium, like no chemicals and antibiotics, shit like that. I try to buy grass-fed beef. I still eat ground turkey. A lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, salads. Just it's that's about it, really. I mean, everybody thinks like, oh, you got to eat all this stuff. It's like, no, not really. I eat about the same thing over and over again. And I don't get tired of it because I enjoy it. And I think you talked about that yesterday. I just listened to your podcast this morning. And it's just like, if you enjoy it, like, eat it. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously there's for good foods and not shit foods. Like, if you enjoy eating pizza, don't continuously put pizza in your body because you're going to, give yourself shit that you don't want. But, yeah, so, I mean, sweet potatoes, eggs, bacon, grass-fed beef, turkey, chicken, generally chicken breast or chicken thighs, fruits and veggies. I eat a lot of fresh fruit. If there's fresh fruit, it's nothing for me to sit down and eat a whole pineapple in one sitting. Like, I'll go to the grocery store and spend $40 on fruit, and it'll last me 2 days.
Damn.
So yeah, dude, I don't mess around when it comes to fresh fruit. Like, it's like watermelon, pineapple, grapes, and strawberries are my favorite, and I can sit and eat those like nothing.
Yeah, I think you belong down in a warmer climate, man. I think you belong like in the tropics. I mean, watermelon, I can eat. I usually eat or when it's in season, I'll eat a watermelon a day. I mean, I love watermelon. I just eat it out of the.
And then pee your brains out.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's lycopene in there, so it actually cause you to probably have like diarrhea. It loosens up your stool because of the lycopene in watermelon. So you eat a lot of watermelon, you'll get the watermelon shits. Trust me. Just take my word for it.
Yeah.
No, but it's.
I'll take your word.
Yeah, if you're. I don't know. I'm not a fan of eliminating those things, fruits and vegetables. I'm not a fan of going too extreme any one direction. I don't necessarily also believe in balance. Even everything, even carbs, fats, proteins. There are a lot of debates going on now about macro ratios. I know you're aware of them because you listen to the podcast and you're in the field. So macro ratios, what foods to eat, if it's vegan or it's carnivore or it's paleo or keto. There are a lot of people, a lot of those diets, the reason why they get so popular. I'm just interested in your take on them if you ever tried any of them. What's interesting about them is they're extreme. And people love extremes, whether it's extreme exercise, is extreme. People go all in or they don't. I notice on a lot of my videos because there are analytics. Obviously, you can see, and the internet tracks everything. I can see how long people watch the video for, when they stop watching, and all this type of stuff. People either watch like 5 minutes or they watch an hour. And people are either all in or they're not in at all. And it seems like it's the same way with nutrition. Either they cut out all meat and they're vegan, or they cut out all carbs and there's a war on carbs and they only eat fat. And what's your take on the psychological approach to that? Because as someone that's lost weight and done so twice, and now is doing it, and we would all agree, I'm sure, the right way. You're doing it more in a more balanced way. You're maintaining at a better physique, more muscle mass. You have a better pulse on your fitness and your well-being. What's your take on those types of extremes that cut out all fruits or all veggies, or that cut out all meats? I mean, because I eat fruit, I eat vegetables, and I don't think there's enough research anywhere close to it to warrant eliminating any complete source of food, considering there's so many people that survive very well on all of these. And it's just usually the quality and the quantity. So what's your take on all these extremes with nutrition in the industry? It's kind of like fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm a lot like you in that regard. I think I don't personally believe in cutting out fruit and vegetables because they're natural and they're good for you, and you get the vitamins and everything, and the protein, carbs or whatever that your body needs for energy. And I meat wise, I would never be able to cut out meat. I like meat. I love eating chicken and beef and pork and stuff like that. So I mean, I understand somewhat of the background of it, I guess. Like, I understand like why people want to do it. Like, if somebody, you know, their body reacts poorly to a certain meat, they cut it out. I can understand that. I can't understand just giving up meat completely. I mean, I can understand like from, you know, saving the animals aspect. Like, I love animals just as much as the next person, but
well, some people say that if you're eating animals,
chicken and beef,
people
you know
say,
what I mean?
People say if you're eating animals that you don't love animals. How could you love animals if you eat them? That gets into the whole moral thing. So, I mean, we're talking, and I'm sure we kind of agree on this already. When you're eating, if you look at it from a healthy perspective, you're coming at it from a health and not a moral issue. I agree. I don't think you should be. I think the quality is everything. I don't think you should be eliminating. How can you eliminate fruits when they are natural and they taste so fucking good? You have to think. You have to think. You have to think on an evolutionary level. When you're a human being, let's say there's no language. You're in the middle of nowhere, and you find something on a tree, and it just tastes like absolute, just nature's candy. It just tastes amazing. It's probably there for a reason. You're probably supposed to eat it if it tastes that good. Usually things that are poisonous don't taste amazing.
Right. I agree.
That are natural. That are natural. I shouldn't say that are natural. Right. You can create good tasting shit in a lab for sure.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I freaking love fruit, and I don't know how people can't help they can just cut it out. I understand, like it's to kind of jumpstart. Maybe you do it for a day or two just to kind of to see like, okay, so like I'm gonna do that. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You're experimenting. You know, you're not sticking to it long term, whatever. But like, I don't know, like eating so much, just like, or so little, I should rather say, is I don't get it. Like, I see all the time, like one of my friends is keto, and it's like, okay, it's your body. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your body. But it's just like, I see these keto desserts and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's like made, like that's on a regular recipe that's made with sugar. I'm like really curious about what's in that. And like, I'm not going to eat it, but yeah. I'm really curious at what you're putting in that to make it taste sweet, so you don't crave sweets, like keto pumpkin cheesecake. Like,
people just want it.
Like, people want a cheesecake team. Doesn't even sound healthy to begin with. People want a team.
They want. I honestly said they want friends. They want a team. They want a community, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when they change their diet, and then all of a sudden their profile name changes to like Keto Mike or Keto Samantha, and it's like, why are you changing? And then it's all of their profile. Every picture is something that has cheese all over it, or just milk and like sauce all over it. All right, just because it has fat doesn't make it keto. And same thing with vegan. You get a lot of vegan junk food peeps. But even with just healthy food, it's just you're cutting out a lot. And I think survival and health are sorely confused with most people, like in the nutrition industry. When you separate, okay, what can the human body survive doing and what makes the human body healthy? It's hard to tell sometimes, because your body will live through eating a lot of shit. People eat junk food every day and live to their 60 or 70. Maybe not healthy, they don't look good and they die younger. I mean, who knows? I mean, everyone's different. You can't, point fingers at any one thing, of course. But, you get to that point where, okay, people can survive eating very little. We've seen concentration camps and horrible situations where people can survive eating next to nothing. And then you can go full keto and you can survive, like your body can survive, and it's called adaptation. But where do you draw that line? Because most people that do these things aren't doing blood work regularly. They're not really testing. They're not looking at all these different factors, and they just don't know. They just see something online from people like myself that are putting out content. That's why I don't plant my flag in any one thing. it just bothers me when people just go so hard in one thing. It's like religion, saying that you're right and then telling everyone else to follow your way because this is what works. I think it's very dangerous because keto certainly isn't for everyone, and neither is vegan. Have you ever tried cutting out meat, or that was never even, you never even considered that?
No, never even a thought.
Yeah. People are treating that people are treating that like a weight loss diet now, cutting out meat. Oh, I'm going to go vegan and lose weight. It's like, it's not a weight loss diet, dude.
It's like Atkins.
Right. Well, it's not a weight loss diet. People think of that, oh, I'm going to cut out meat and lose weight. You might lose weight because you're cutting calories, but you're not going to be.
And I'm not bashing it by any means. Like, I understand that there's benefits from everything. You know, I mean, everything has benefits, but there's also things that have downsides too. And I think instead of just going balls to the wall, deep in it, like, do your research first. You know, and that's all that I want to portray is that, you know, you can do what you want to do and you know, and what you think is right for your body, but be smart about it. Just,
but how do you do research?
Your homework, understand.
Where do
that's true.
Where do people? Well, I think that's why people don't do it. You used to have no access. You go to the encyclopedia, you'd open it up and see what someone printed in there 20 years ago. You go to your doctor, they would tell you what to do, or you talk to your friends who probably didn't know. Like today, they're asked from their elbow, but now you have phones that. So you went from like no information to endless information to all of it. And I don't know if there's really I don't know if there's much of a difference because people get locked into decisions, or people get locked. You do a Google search. You could do a Google search that says vegan unhealthy, and it'll pull up all the results for is vegan unhealthy, or all the people that are against being vegan, or you say vegan for long-term health or for lifelong. And then you'll see all the books and all the speakers and doctors and all the people that promote that a lot. So it's like, what the hell? I'm getting.
Well, then you got to pick out what's biased and what's not too.
Well, most people don't. Most people don't.
You and I learn in school.
Well, most people don't think it's biased. People still watch CNN and Fox News, and they don't understand that you're getting not even a one-sided. You're getting like a 0.3-sided, opinion on what is going on in the world. Like, it's completely inaccurate. You're just getting brainwashed. But that's what's happening with information. You don't realize that even the studies, even if you go deeper, okay, this is an article written by someone, maybe he's biased. Let me look at the study that he referenced. Oh, this study, and that study could be biased or not done properly. And you have to be really educated in how to read a study and most people aren't even aware of this. And yeah, and Aaron just dropped a comment and it says everything is biased, which is true. Once you start observing something for a test, there's a bias. There's always like this underlying bias, and anything that's observable is different by default because you're observing it. I mean, you probably have heard, the podcast you're listening to, that's physics, Neil deGrasse Tyson, you're saying you're listening to a podcast of his. I mean, that's one of the principles and foundations of scientific observation, is that you're changing the outcome by observing what you're observing, right? By actually observing it, you're changing the situation fundamentally. So it's crazy how people just plant their flag. It's crazy but that's the way we live in. Humans go all in. And if you have a group of people that think the same way, then you're really lost in it. A lot of people stick to these diets and these extremes, regardless of the health outcomes too. They'll do keto, and I think it's that ego. People don't want to stop doing it because they announced it and they went so hard into it. They don't believe that it's not working. They stay with these things longer than they should. Have you ever done that, or seen people that just kind of stuck with something that, regardless, kind of stubborn?
Yeah, I see it all the time. I see it every day on Instagram.
Yeah.
Personally, like, what I'm doing with my Instagram is I'm trying to not be exactly like you, be like a similar internet personality or something like that. Like, obviously I'm not that big, but I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to go with it. But like, I'm basing it purely off of helping others, inspiring others. So using my experiences to relate to other people, or have people reach out and say, hey, can you do this? Or can you talk about this? Like, very similar to what you do.
Good, man.
And so my explore feed is a lot of people that are just on these fads rather than doing what's healthy. And it's like, okay, well, it always goes back to I'm not judging you. I don't judge anyone, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, there's such a smarter way to do that, and we have to let them figure it out for themselves sometimes. And we can only put our 2 cents in, and then hope that people will say, okay, I'm going to follow up on that, or at least take it into perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. So
no, you're fine. Well, that's inexcusable. That's it. Well, people sometimes can't take advice. It's hard for people to take.
What's that?
A lot of people don't accept advice, especially if it's someone close. If you're just on your Explore feed, yeah, you'll see people that are just doing these things like, they're just going to bang their head into the wall. They're not going to be able to follow through with that. But especially if it's family or friends or someone close to you, it seems like the closer the person, the more resistant they are to take advice, and more as like criticism. And it usually says more about that person than you, but you can talk about it all you want. And first off, what you were saying, you want to do something similar to it. That's fantastic, man. I started with 0 people watching my shit. Like literally, if you go back into the archives of Facebook, you'll see like 1 view. There's still videos before I rebranded it the Daily Swole, you'll still see videos that have like 14 views. Like they're just lost in the internet. So all you got to do is, just start some. I mean, if you're posting content and if your goal, like the foundation has to be right with what you're doing. If you're doing whatever you're doing for the right reasons and you're doing it to help people, then help people, and that it's going to, your style and your form and your community, it will build the way it's meant to be built. Your energy will attract the right people. And that's literally what I started doing, just sharing my experiences, because your experience right now that you're sharing with the entire Swolenormous community, it's helping a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there that are trying to lose more weight, that have gone through that weight loss and that regain, and that maybe haven't had that second round or maybe haven't figured that out. This is important stuff. This is like real life shit.
I'm definitely glad.
Yeah, man.
I'm definitely glad because, I'm passionate about helping people, and the way that I look at it is you don't have to help everybody at one time.
You can't.
Even if I help one person, I've done something good. I've done something that's fulfilling, and however they go about it is however they go about it. Just knowing that my experiences and my things that I've gone through and that the fact that they take interest in what I have to say and what I have to think about on a regular basis, it makes me feel good because that's what I want to do. And it's one of those things where it's constantly a grind for me, and I know it's a constant grind for everybody else. And sometimes it pays off to have that accountability, that accountability buddy, I like to call it. Somebody to go to the gym with, somebody to eat right with. That's how I started. And eventually it just got to the stronger point of will where it's like, okay, I'm not always going to have that person. I'm not always going to have everybody that's going to support what I'm doing. So I have to be able to do this on my own. You can't help other people if you can't help yourself.
True.
And that's how I look at it. And I constantly work. I constantly strive. I like to think that I'm relentless in what I want to accomplish. I watch, I love The Rock. I like what The Rock has to say. He's got a very interesting background, how he came up. And he's got one of the strongest freaking work ethics that I've ever seen in my life. And his stuff inspires me every day. I listen to his videos before my workouts. I listen to his videos when I wake up. It's one of those things where if he said, I'll probably get it wrong, but he says, you know what it's like to be hungry, but if you're starving, you never have to really worry about it because you're starving for success and you're starving to do things that are great. And as long as you're like that, you don't have anything to worry about because you'll do what it takes to get there.
Yep.
And that's how I try to lead my life anymore. I see the goals that I want. Once I accomplish them, what's the next goal? What's the next goal? What's the next goal? what do I want? What do I need? What do I need to do? What do I want to do? And it's a constant passion. It's a constant inspiration to myself to wake up and be like, okay, I got to do this today. I got to do this today. I got to do this today. When am I going to get my workout? I base my days off when I'm going to get my workout in. I don't care if it's an hour. I don't care if it's 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to do arms. I'm going to do back. I'm going to do whatever. Once you cut out excuses and when I can't do that, I can't do this. Nah, screw that, man. You can do whatever you set your freaking mind to. You just have to do it. And you need that aha moment. And once you get that, I promise the results are limitless.
It's true. It's true. If you don't push things off to the next day, sometimes if I didn't meditate first thing in the day and it's late at night, I'm like, fuck it. I said I was going to do it, and I do it. And even it's like checking things off your list and staying relentlessly consistent. If you do the opposite and make excuses, if you're obsessed about completing your tasks that you need to do, that's what it's all about. That ruthless consistency, not letting anything get in the way of your daily execution. Another quote that you'll probably like, or concept, when you have, I guess, lofty or aggressive goals, it's like taking, and if you're in your own lane and you block out everyone, and this goes to everyone that's listening that has people in their lives that doubt them, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's whoever, because when, as you know, Steve, people start to lose weight, they start to eat healthy. People are like, what are you going to be, a fitness model, blah, blah, blah. They'll just talk down to them. You bring your own food. People make snide comments or kind of, make fun of it because, it's about them. They're not willing to put in the work. So they kind of tease people and try to bring them down to their level, that type of thing. So there's a lot of people out there that have negativity in their lives. And when you have tunnel vision with what you want, right? Like you said, nothing gets in your way, no excuses. It's like taking a separate road. It's like the highway is completely backed up with traffic and you just find this magic exit randomly in the middle of the traffic. You boom, and all of a sudden you're on this back road and you're going 50 miles an hour and there's no one but you on it. When you take your own path and you focus on your own shit and you completely cut out that noise that everyone is just rambling on about, all of a sudden there's no resistance. You just are doing your own thing. And that's the magic. You don't have to necessarily live in the woods, but you have to separate yourself from anything that infects your path or your journey. If you're the only one, there's less resistance. It's easier to have great success than it is to have average success, because the great success or the lofty goals, that's the road less traveled.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. I definitely like the aspect on that because it's very true. Yeah. It's very true. It's I don't get the I don't want to say naysayers because I do get naysayers sometimes, but I don't really meal prep all the time. I sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I have had people that are like, oh, why are you doing that? Why are you, you're going to be so skinny. You're going to blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, stop worrying about me. It's like, I know it's not to be arrogant or anything like that, but it's like, I know for the most part what my body can handle. For the most part, about 60-70%. We're always learning. So, but it's food wise, like for the most part anymore, I know what's good for my body and how my body reacts. So I don't like it when people say, you shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't eat that all the time. That's got chemicals in it. Well, dude, you just put 90 grams of refined sugar in your body before 9 a.m. Who's the, you know what I mean? It's not putting anybody on a pedestal. That's never what it's about. I'm always firmly about helping people pick themselves up. But, it baffles me sometimes at how quickly people are to criticize. What are you eating a salad for? I don't know, because I want to eat lettuce. Like, what are you eating that for? It's because it helps my body. It gives me energy. It keeps me full. Whatever the reasoning, that's why I do it. I do it because I like to push my body. And, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't understand all the criticism. I really don't. And some people just don't get it yet. And hopefully one day they will. And, and when they do, I'm here to help them. That's how I look at it.
It goes back to what you said earlier about helping, or you're not about helping people. And I forget exactly what you said, but you certainly cannot help everyone. And that's where it gets a little bit, I don't want to say sticky, but from my perspective,
it to be a headache.
Well, you have to pick your battles and you have to use your own energy wisely. So as someone who's inspired to help others, myself included, so doing this content and putting out, discussing my fitness journey and what what I know about training and programs and all that stuff, just the Daily Swole podcast and everything else included. There are a lot of people that ask questions, and the way they ask the question, I know they're never going to do it, which isn't like a positive thing. I'm not like, you're never going to get it done. It's more like, you just can tell you can't help this person. Either the question is way too vague, they don't have any desire inherently to help themselves. You can just tell, because even if I lay it all out for someone, they still have to do it. They still have to self-execute. And there's so many people that just simply can't do it. They're not ready for it. They're not prepared for it. And it's tough to, not to pull away, but you can't chase people. Like, I can't keep on chasing people saying, come on, you got to do this. You got to lose. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't force someone to eat certain foods. You can't force someone to work out. They have to be, they have to be driven intrinsically to a point to at least get started, or they have to have some catastrophic event or some catastrophic shift, in the sense that their whole mindset is, okay, I need to do this now for my kids, for my health. Maybe they went to the doctor and they had poor blood work, or maybe they just looked at themselves in the mirror and they're really overweight. They had a hard time getting off the toilet, and they realized this has to stop now. And they just have that explosion of desire and they actually get started, but then they have to stick to it. Just some people can't do that. And for someone like yourself and myself, it's about saving your own energy, right? You have to take care of yourself or you take care of others. You can't drain yourself helping people that can't be helped. And that's something that I've had to learn, because I would get very, I don't want to say angry, but frustrated when I was having discussions about getting someone started with training, this, that, and the other, and they would fall off, or they wouldn't follow through, and they wouldn't start the programs, and they wouldn't do it. It used to bother me when people quit, but they always quit. Even if they say they're going to do it, people always fall off. They always allow things to come in the way of their progress. And that's why all this content has to have the same theme, because anytime you have that dip, anytime you have one of those days, which are going to happen frequently, it's not a rainbow. It's not going to be all fun and games. You're going to have, even within a single day, you're going to have moments of doubt and despair and failure that you have to overcome and ignore. And not everyone's prepared to do that. So it's just as much about you understanding that not everyone can be helped, and not to spend your time helping people that essentially don't want to be helped, because then it just drains you.
Yeah. Mentally, really.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, man,
oh yeah.
Because it's just like, oh my gosh, I know that I can have a positive impact, but sometimes it's just they don't want it, and okay, that's all right, but you have to want it.
You have to want it.
You want it.
You have to want it, even if you're a personal trainer. I mean, you can't lift the weights for the person. You can get them to do it. Some people need to pay to have someone stand over them. Okay. But what about the people that can't afford that? What do? I mean, you still have to exercise. You're still the same person. You still have to take better care of yourself. But then there's the slew of excuses. Healthy food is too expensive. I mean, it's not. It's not. You're just making an excuse. You're straight up lying, and you're just saying something that sounds good. It's just a matter of, rather than make excuses for every reason why you can't do it, just shut your mouth and actually do it and you'll get the change that you want. But it has to be consistent, and you have to put the effort in, and not everyone's cut out for it. And that's the real truth. Not everyone is cut out for it. Not everyone is built in the way that can fix the damage that they've done. They're just not mentally going to do it. Everyone can do it, but very few actually will. And we see that all the time because people are getting more in better shape than they ever have been. The people that are in shape now are in better shape than they ever have been in the history of mankind. However, you also have people that are in worse shape than anyone in the history of mankind. So it's getting, I guess the poles are getting further and further apart. It seems there's less people in the middle. It's more, you're either healthy and you're in good shape, or you're like obese and you're sick.
Yeah, it kind of seems that way. It does. And then, yeah, a good way to put it, I think.
I mean, it's I'm not sure if there's, I guess it's the only way to put it. That's what I observe. I see people, all the guys, I see everyone with guts, and then I either see fit people in the gym, or I just see unhealthy people out of the gym. For the most part. I mean, of course, you see some people.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, it's weird.
It depends on how you judge things, but I mean, we're talking 35% of the population is obese, diabetic, pre-diabetic. It's bad. And those are the people.
That's such a scary stat.
And that's the percentage of the people that are in the bad, like the real sick. But what about everyone else that's overweight and out of shape but might not be to that point? It's a lot worse than 30%. It's probably, for people that are out of shape or not healthy, it's probably more like 60 or 70%, maybe even more. Like, how many people are okay? They're not, maybe they don't have a major disease yet, but how many people are going to be in that 30% when that 30% grows to 40%? How many of those are going to shift over? There's just less. And here's another interesting thing that we talked about before. We talk about extreme diets. You can also look very healthy and be unhealthy. Like, how do you qualify healthy? Just being like having muscles and being lean? Yeah. Well, you could take supplements and be pounding all this shit and anabolics and be shredded and have a fucking heart attack. So just because you look, so there's that other discrepancy where you can have the illusion of health but not actually be healthy. So it's
something else that I've done though. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done. Go ahead. I was done.
Something else that I've done after we talked was I stopped taking supplements. I was taking like BCAAs and shit like that, and then I stopped. And I was like, after we talked, I was like, okay, I'm gonna really see like if this does anything, how I feel compared to. Yeah, I didn't notice a difference at all, and I was just like, okay. And then I stopped. I was spending a lot of money on that stuff, like thinking like this stuff has an impact. This stuff is changing how I feel and how I train, and it wasn't. And honestly, I feel better now. I feel better now without it. Like The only thing I drink, the only thing I use is caffeine, and that is my coffee. So that's.
Once you cut down on that shit, and then you see that you're not losing progress, it's more about your sleep, it's your hydration, your food. Then you can really it helps you get consistent with the basics that work. It helps you focus on the most important things. And then in the future, look, there's so much stuff that's coming out about BCAAs being crap, not necessary, proteins. I mean, you can get that from food. If you supplement with things like creatine or BCAAs, are they going to kill you? No, of course not. Creatine's safe. No. I mean, no one's ever proven that it's unsafe. BCAAs, if anything.
Isn't creatine like the biggest
creatine's in meat.
Researched
Yeah, it's like creatine and caffeine, I think, are the most, vitamin C, probably those types of things, vitamins and things like that. But creatine's found in meat. People might say, well, if you take a scoop of creatine, it's going to get the same as 5 pounds of meat. So you better take your creatine because you're never going to eat that much meat. Okay, but it's also systemic and also fills up like a gas tank. So if you're consuming animal proteins, you're going to get creatine, more saturation over time. And sure, you can supplement with creatine. It's not going to hurt you. In the same respect, it's not going to get you all the results and make everything, all hunky-dory just because you're taking creatine. And if anything, BCAAs, for example, you might get some negative effects from the artificial sweeteners or the quality, who knows. But if anything, it's either going to maybe help you marginally that you won't notice, or it won't do anything. So in my opinion, those types of things are just more of a waste of money rather than spending on quality food. And it shifts the focus. If you're focusing on when you're taking supplements, you're focusing on, oh, I need to take that to get this, to get that. I mean, you're not paying as much attention as you should be to your nutrition. How many people are also sleeping properly and really paying attention to sleep? Treat your sleep like a supplement. Treat your sleep like a supplement.
I've got that on my little goal board right now.
It's very hard to do. It's very hard to do because of technology and the way sometimes our schedules are different day to day. You're going to sleep. I mean, if you can make your sleep as consistent as your nutrition, and you're going to sleep at the same time every day, and you're waking up, you'll feel so much better if you're literally getting it down to a strict window. It helps you perform and recover and feel so much better. You don't need as much caffeine. You don't need to, because you're getting rest. You don't need as much of this extra stimulant in supplements and all these types of things. You don't need to drink 4 fucking monsters a day. People pound that shit. Ugh.
I could never drink it before. I drank 2 rock stars in an hour when I was 19.
Ooh.
And I almost had a heart attack. I have not touched one since.
I used to, come on. I mean, I didn't always used to be so wise from experience. I used to drink monsters. I used to drink not the monsters. I never liked those too much. I used to drink the sugar-free rock stars. Oh.
Yeah.
Like I liked
the fruit punch one.
The white can. I don't know. I don't remember that. I just remember the white one that said sugar-free on it, had the big star. And God, I mean, yeah, just that's sugar-free, but obviously they're putting tons of everything else to make it taste good. But yeah, those they're everywhere, man. I see people drinking tons and tons of soda. Have you seen? I want to make a video on it. It was on Facebook. Someone tagged me. I think it was posted last Thursday. That people are mixing Coke in coffee. Have you seen that?
Oh no, that sounds gross.
I saw it's shoot. I wish I could. I guess I don't want to set it up right now. I have to look it up. But people apparently, the latest thing is they're mixing Coke. They're mixing Coke into coffee, and it's like, wow, an extra sweet. People are doing this, blah blah blah, for an extra sweet boost. And it's like, what do you mean extra sweet?
They know how much sugar's in Coke?
Yes, it's sugar. Right. So hey.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like 80 grams of sugar in that shit.
It's like, fuck that shit. Go back to your mocha frappuccino lattes. That's healthier. Coke and coffee. God. So I guess the caramel, I'm sure in terms of taste, all right, of course it's going to taste good. I mean, if you like Coke and coffee, chances are you'll like it.
I don't think it would.
Well, I mean, it's sugar. Ugh. It's sugar. It sounds gross, but I'm just saying, of course it tastes. If people like it, why do you think you like it? Yeah, because it's tons of sugar, and you're putting sugar in your coffee. Of course you're gonna. But it's just tons of caffeine too. Everyone's like, that's just terrible.
Everybody in the comments is like, oh my God,
it's
terrible.
It's fucking gross. It is gross. It is gross. Leave it to. Funny. Yeah, I got to pull that up and do something. The video had I got tagged in it. This video had 2 or 3 million views. It's like, great. How many people are getting ideas from this shit? How many people are going to be
who thought of that? Oh man.
Right? Speaking of who thought of that, I saw, it always impresses me. I can't even describe it. It always impresses me when I'm at the gym. And my gym I love my little gym, but it brings in people that create these exercises, and I don't know where they get it from. It's amazing with all my experience and seeing different exercises and kinesiology and just understanding the body. I still see things that people invent that I'm looking at. I'm like, I would never in a million years be in a gym and think to do that. This guy had those ab straps, where you put your arms through when you're doing hanging leg raises. He had it on a cable, like a tricep push down thing. And he was laying, I can't even explain. He was laying sideways on the ground, but his upper torso was his arms were in there, he was kind of trapped in it, and he was pulling down sideways, but he looked like a beach, like a seal out of water.
Sounds painful.
He was just spasming. It's supposed to be a repetition, but it looked like he was just kind of, a fish out of water, like flopping around. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, where did you see this?
Is it supposed to be like an oblique, like crunch?
I don't
like how you grab a plate and
yeah,
like
it was
crunch
supposed
to the side.
but he was lying on the ground and his upper torso was being like pulled up by the machine. That's what it was. I'm assuming because that's the only thing it could have been, but I never would have thought to like where did you see this and think that this was a good idea? Like I wonder, it's probably like the game Telephone. There's probably like some actual really good form or technique that someone showed and this guy is just like flopping around. He saw it like 10 years ago and it's just gotten lost in translation. Every time he remembers the exercise, he does it worse and worse. But I see some shit that the part that blows my mind is not the end result. It's just who thought of this. I see some equipment that people do shit with, and I'm like, I never would have thought to do that. I never would have thought to sit backwards on this machine and do that horrific exercise. And people just stray so much from the basics. Maybe that guy had too much Coke in his coffee. Lost his shit.
Well, I mean, I'm always happy to see people in the gym and they're better themselves, but sometimes I'm just like, man, I don't know.
You'll better yourself if not if you're
sit there and try to figure out what they're doing is like what?
Not if you're breaking your spine.
Yeah, I'm like, what? What do you do?
No, nothing. Oh, you film it and you put it on Snapchat. That's what you do.
No, I'm not that type of guy, but
I am sometimes. If it's crazy enough, why not? Why not? I'm not gonna call them out like, look at Brad over here. No, I don't know. I love it when you take a video of something and people are, why didn't you go over there and help the guy? You've never spent time in the gym then. You don't just walk around correcting everyone's shit. People don't really like that, by the way.
People get mad.
Yeah, no one understands.
Mad.
No one understands that. No one understands that. Every time I'll film something kind of funny, I always get messages, you should go help him. That's not nice. You should go help. I mean, what about all those videos that are viral? You can't help people. I've spent time helping someone do things, and then I turn around and they ignore everything that I used my precious time to explain to them, and they don't do a damn thing. I'm like, fuck you. That's how I think it's over. It's over. That's I don't bother.
I think a lot of people take it into consideration if you're a trainer at that gym. Well, then that's probably like the exception to where people like take into account. Like people have like even me, like they've seen like my form being bad, and because I'm not perfect, but hey, try doing this slower, and then I feel a difference. I'm like, oh yeah, thanks, I'll try it. And I actually take into account. Like that's just me. Like I take into account what other people say. Not everybody does, and you can't change other people. So
you might not be taking it like as criticism. I used to when I was training in gyms, people still don't want to hear it half the time. People don't want to be correct. It's like they get embarrassed, or sometimes they respond positively, and you think, oh, I actually helped them, and they go back and I look around, and then they're doing the same thing. So. Yeah, you can, again,
I got a question.
Again, you can't help everyone for sure. Even when you try to help someone and they accept the help, you still can't help everyone. Yeah, what's up?
How do you feel about the arch and the bench press?
What do you mean? Like people that are like extremely arching for powerlifting?
Like the extreme arch, like where
I don't know.
Like it looks like the St. Louis arch on the bench press.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's some like
it's scary. Like I understand it biomechanically, but at the same time, I'm like, your butt's not even on the bench. Like that wouldn't even qualify for.
Yeah.
Like I mean, in a lot of cases I've seen, not every case. There are people that have it like mastered to perfection, like where their butt's touching, their feet are planted, their shoulder blades are touching, their head is touching. Like it qualifies as like the perfect.
I don't know. That's
at the same time,
that's a powerlifting. That's a powerlifting thing. So I think it looks stupid. I don't know why people would want to arch that much and then push for 2 inches. I don't know what that accomplishes, but it's also a specific sport. It's not for. I mean, it's certainly not for developing the muscle fully. It's for accomplishing whatever lift within the rules and regulations of that association. So it's like when. It's like using, for example, it's like talking about CrossFit and saying, oh, CrossFit for weight loss. No, CrossFit is not weight loss training. CrossFit is a specific style of exercise for that type of outcome. The powerlifting in that move is to lift as much as possible based on the rules, because there's some powerlifting that's raw where you don't use belts or straps or anything like that, or like squat suits or bench suits, and then some divisions you can, or some competitions you can suit up and use like the slingshots and things like that. So that's just a very specific skill, but it's certainly not for developing the muscle. Like for me there's no training without working on all aspects of the body. I'm not talking about doing extreme cardiovascular training, but if you're doing strength training, like the most important things that I've seen, and that's why I talk about those primarily, is not powerlifting, it's not marathons, it's strength training and the mobility. Strength training, mobility, as well with the yoga and such, and as well as meditation. So if you're doing strength training, you're keeping your mobility and you're doing decent cardiovascular. Like I don't necessarily do long duration cardio, but sometimes in my warm up, I'll feel good and I'll just stay on that nice and good warm up on the step mill for like 20 minutes. I don't call it cardio because I'm warming up my body. Sometimes I'll do 10 minutes and like I want to just fucking train, but I still warm up and I'll still do like yoga flow, stretching, lighter sets. I don't just jump right into heavy weight. Like my warm up and gearing into my training is a process. But sometimes I'll do some more cardiovascular, but you can't argue that I did 20 minutes on the step mill. So I don't call it cardio because I'm not destroying myself, just heating up and so forth. But, when you combine those aspects of fitness, you're going to get the most well-rounded result, because strength training is important. Mobility is one of the things that you lose fastest when you get older. You'll lose your mobility the fastest. And that's very, very important. It's more important than strength training, is keeping your mobility, because there are strength aspects of having mobility and of having range of motion. And, I'm sure you see people all the time in the gym that have trouble, like older people that come in that have trouble sitting down and standing up and use walkers. That's where everyone is headed, and no one's thinking that. Everyone's just loading up heavy weight so they can get a good Instagram video. And I see people, there was a guy in the gym deadlifting like five and change, and he looked like his back was arched like a scared cat. It was bad. And he's always doing it, and I've talked to him before about it. It just, his form is, it's bad. He's gonna be fucked up when he's older. He's gonna be fucked up. He's a younger kid, and he's strong. And just because you have a little bit of an arch doesn't mean you're gonna get hurt. It doesn't mean your form is terrible, because at the highest levels, your lower back round, you're gonna round a little bit just because of the extreme force if you're going towards like your maximum weight. But you've built that strength slowly, but you don't want to see extreme rounding. It's just dangerous. But it's
right. I know the result of that personally.
Yeah, it's the wrong approach. And I don't understand why everyone's so, I don't know. Strength training was always like to get maximally strong. I don't know. Not that I don't get it. Of course I get it, but I just think that people put I think it's the human ego, especially for dudes. Like, it's just such an ego driven thing. More weight means better. And I've never looked at it that way. It was always the weight was always a means to an end. It wasn't the goal. And that's why I've kept my injuries minimal, because it was never, okay, I need to add more weight. It was never how high or how heavy I went. It was about what would develop my body, what would keep me healthy, what would keep me, what would build a physique, what would, benefit me just overall. It wasn't, okay, I need to bench 310 because I did 305. I think that's where a lot of people get fucked up, because they think a higher number means I'm doing better at fitness or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Personally, what I do is I generally go moderate weight with high reps. Usually, lately I've been increasing weight because I've been seeing, even with cutting weight, that I still can put up a little bit more weight. With big lifts, I'll do like pyramid sets, like 2 warm-up sets with like 12 reps or something, and then increase weight, gradually decrease reps, and then get up to a point where I can do 1 or 2 solid reps. I'll do that with squats and deadlifts, and sometimes a flat bench, dumbbells. But for the most part, I train, I don't know, high reps, like 10 to 12 to 15 reps. And then, to the point where I can feel the ache in the muscle. Like, how like when you're doing a bicep curl and you get to the higher end of reps and it gets to the point where you can't get it, you physically can't get it.
Fuck yeah, I do.
The point of, that's how I try to. A lot of times it's like if I'm short on time, like, okay, I'm not going to do that today. But if I have the time, then a lot of times that's what I do. Like I like being in the gym for a long time and pushing to see what my body can do. Like I know like I shouldn't push it too much to the point where it's so fatigued that it can't do anything. But it's nice to see like where my limits are. You know what I mean? That way I know, okay, this is what I need to work for. This is what I need to work towards, and things like that. So
of course, I mean, it's an important aspect of your muscle growth and your progress. But when it becomes the goal, look, it depends. If you're trying to get stronger, yeah, that's how you're going to measure your progress. But I think that chasing strength is very, very similar to chasing weight loss on a scale. Because eventually you're not going to keep on getting stronger forever, and you're not going to keep on losing weight forever. So until you, yeah. So it's just when you chase numbers, there are diminishing. I don't know. There's diminishing. I don't want to say glory, but there's diminishing satisfaction because those incremental changes become less and less. And as you get older, and as you continue to keep on lifting heavier and heavier and heavier, you're getting closer to that breaking point. I see people all the time that are in their 40s and 50s that are lifting either with good or bad form, doesn't matter. I see both. But I look at that, I'm like, when is that joint going to break? When does that knee give out? When does that back just say like, nope, it's going to happen. It has to. Like either this person has to start using better form or start approaching their training differently because you can see it. It's just in the future. It's like you're a soothsayer. You're like, this person's going to be jacked up and they're already walking weird. And they're trying to hold on to their youth or hold on to their strength instead of embracing the fact that they're getting older and they need to shift their approach. That's why I'm doing the mobility now. That's why I'm doing yoga now, because I want to, because that's literally what, when I train, I go to the gym and I go hard, but really in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do I still want to lift heavy anymore? Or should I just go full into like yoga? I don't know. There's such a great satisfaction with doing mobility training. Let's talk a little bit more about your shift, because you started doing yoga more regularly. How has that affected your mindset and your change as you've been, I guess, with this weight loss journey the second time around? You've been more successful. We talked about how you have more muscle mass, you're doing it better this time, and you're going to keep it off, I'm sure. How has yoga played a role in that for you? Because a lot of people still listening, anyone that's listening, I'm talking to you. A lot of people listening still have not taken that word, my advice on starting yoga ASAP. So like, how has that affected your progress and how your outlook on your training?
Personally, I think it's been a game changer. I felt like I was in a plateau there for a little while, and then it just kind of overcame it within the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Just being consistent, still doing, the things that I know I need to do. But so the reason I started yoga, I probably mentioned it. I had hurt my back doing deadlifts. I was trying to, like we were talking about the ego. The ego comes in, and then it's like I can lift this. And then I got one really good rep, and I was like, all right, another really good rep. Pumped myself up, rounded my back really bad, and felt a pop in my leg, and then my leg went like to sleep for 30 seconds, and I was around hot, and then immediately back started going insane. Like it sucked. And then I was literally laid up on the couch for 3 days, can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, but literally my mindset was like, I'm not staying out of the gym. I'm still going to the gym. I don't care if all I have to do is walk on the treadmill. I'm going to the gym. And worked through that. And then, we were talking, that was before the last time I was on. And then, you were talking about yoga a lot and I know we talked about meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept talking to people that I know did yoga. And I was like, how do you feel like when you do it? And other than relax, because I had done yoga before, and I know like the relaxing feeling that you kind of leave with. And I was like, okay, yeah, I know how that feels, but like, how do you feel muscle wise? Like, does it help injuries? Is it going to do this? And they're like, yeah. So, and I started pricing yoga around town, and then I was always in the back of my mind was Swole Norma's yoga. I was like, I just feel drawn to this, and then I looked at the price and I was like, this is a lot of yoga for $15 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I can swing this. So I pulled the trigger and I did it. And the first time I did it, I told you, like, it like hurt my back in the sense like it was stretching it out. It was making it feel better. Within 2 weeks of just doing yoga once or twice a week, I felt insanely different. Now it's my back pain is completely gone for the most part. Like, the weather's changing, so I get like a little bit of stiffness, but nothing that it was. And Jason says it's a good ego check. Like,
yeah.
What I've learned is that, like, oh man, I'm carrying tension here. I didn't even know I was carrying tension there. Okay, maybe I should stretch that more, and
Yep.
And connecting with the breath has helped me through not just yoga, but like aspects in my other life when I feel not just tense, but maybe irritated or any other sense of negative emotion. Just kind of try to breathe through it. Like, it works. And like, a lot of people that don't do yoga think, well, that doesn't sound like it did work. No, dude, it works. Like, trust me,
it works.
It's helped my meditation. A lot of times I meditate more semi-regularly now. I still try to get it every day, but I don't always. But I don't know, man. It's just yoga and meditation have helped my clarity of mind, like breathing and how I express myself, like with my words. Like, I used to just blurt out whatever a lot of times, like, and now it kind of like, okay, take a deep breath, or whatever. It's like, it was never to the point where it was uncontrollable, but it was, I would just get irritated, and it's like, and I'd start like, just mentally talking to myself, and then put myself in an angry state of mind, and I don't like being in that state of mind. I never have. So it
helps you. It helps you narrow down your thoughts more, rather than just get caught up in the storm. I find that meditation and yoga together, that's the game changer. And also, one of the things that I've noticed too is when you meditate regularly, you're also carrying that throughout the day more, like you mentioned. So the meditation, you might have 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever, for your meditation. Let's say that when you are actually meditating, but what you learn through meditating is how to carry that mindset throughout the entire day. So even on a day where you miss that dedicated focused time, you're also carrying that through. So it's a more conscious, or it's a greater awareness of the things that are happening to you, and it's a greater awareness of your reaction to those things that are occurring. And that's the biggest game changer. When something happens and then you get frustrated, you notice, hey, I'm getting frustrated at this. That's silly. And then you move on with your life. It's just,
right.
You're more aware of your emotions. That's what I've found, that I'm more aware of my reaction to things, and I'm able to temper them or completely dismiss things that don't deserve energy or attention. And it helps you literally see things more for what they are, rather than interpret them through your lens and your own emotions. Because people are very quick to get pissed off about things. As we know, we talk about nutrition and training and everyone having their team and their beliefs, and people just get angry rather than just letting people do their thing and focusing on your own shit. And meditation definitely helps with that. And it helps keep you centered when you have those dips, when those moments where people tend to quit and stop. You're noticing, oh, this is when I saw this on on the scale and it's just a number. It just helps you quantify or I guess compartmentalize things that shouldn't take over your life. Like you don't let one bad reading on a scale ruin all the hard work you've done. You see it for what it is and you realize, okay, and then you move on.
Right. Right. I definitely can relate to that. It's been one of those things where, you see a number you don't like, and it's just like, well, I had a great leg pump yesterday, and I squatted 255. Like that's something to be proud of. You find it's easier to find things that make you feel better rather than sit and dwell on stuff.
Yeah, I find I don't. One of the biggest hacks or one of the biggest realizations that I've had since meditating is understanding that when I first began or I ever thought about meditation, because I tried it before, but I didn't really have any kind of like plan or approach to it. It was just kind of, okay, sit there, breathe, close your eyes and think about nothing. And when you think about nothing, that doesn't work because your brain doesn't stop ever. So the biggest shift and change for me was not to think about nothing, but it's when you observe your thoughts, you just come back to that one focus, right? You come back to the breath, you come back to that center point, you come back to, where you are in the moment. And then throughout the day, when you have all these thoughts and you have all these stimulants, you have all these things that are just pounding your brain visually, in your ears, you're just under stimulus overload all the time. You're able to essentially not blur them out and ignore them, but just see them as they are and just let them pass. You don't absorb every last thing. That's what I've noticed. I don't absorb the background noise as much. And that I think is one of those kind of like you carry through the day, those little hacks where you're more peaceful because you have your little tunnel vision focus on your shit. And then you don't let all the other thoughts that come in, that are going to come in, that will always come in. You just don't give them time of day. You just kind of let them go by, let them on their way, and then they don't affect you. But when you absorb everything and you react to every little thing, traffic, waiting in line, it really does help. It's a massive mental shift. And people still look at yoga and meditation as foofy stuff, especially dudes, but it's very important. And as technology improves and as things get more and more hectic, I think that's like the next revolution for fitness. It's not so much the training. It's going to be the mind game. It's going to be harnessing the mind, and meditation is going to be the next phase of the fitness boom. It's going to be totally above the shoulders.
Yeah, I think people are going to be really blown away with, I don't want to say like easier, but how much more simple it is to stay on the craft when they see results that they don't want. It's like, well, it's easier to see the positives rather than the negatives if you meditate daily or almost every day. It's one of those things where, I should have thought about this. Like I should have had people if I say it's one of those things, people need to do 10 push-ups because they'd be getting a hell of a chest pump right now. It's where like the way, I don't know. It's personally, I see something like in my fitness realm, like where, I'm trying to get stronger or something. Like if I fail, it's easier for me to just be like, okay, tomorrow or Thursday or, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just, I used to sit and dwell on it all the time. Like, oh, I put on 2 pounds, or everybody just see me fail that squat rep. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like 2 pounds is 2 pounds. It's going to come off if you're doing everything right. A failed squat rep just means that your muscles weren't strong enough to put it back up. You keep working, you keep doing the accessory work, you keep squatting, you keep doing your yoga, and you eat right. Who knows? Next week you might put up 5 more pounds. It's amazing at the clarity of mind that you get, where it's just like, okay, well, didn't get that, didn't get it in the time frame that I wanted. Oh well, set another time frame, set another goal, and it becomes, once you do it once or twice, it becomes a habit, and it's just like failing the squat rep in front of 10 people doesn't affect you anymore, or
everyone does
pulling the Yeah, that's the thing is that I don't think people really realize is like we're so consumed on how everybody else sees us rather than how we see us. Who freaking cares if you fail a squat rep? We're all in the gym for the same reason, and that's to be better every single day than we were the day before.
Yeah. Amen to that, man. There's a lot of there's that quiet focus that you're able to achieve when you are in your own space, when you ignore other people and ignore in the nicest way, when you ignore and you focus on your own shit and you're not distracted by everyone else's opinions, what they're doing, you focus on you. That's really what meditation really helps with. It helps you get rid of the extra shit that you don't need to be thinking of. It's like it's like having a cleaner desk or having less things to worry about. And you don't realize how much is going on or how much your brain is thinking about what's going on until you start practicing regularly. And just like yoga, a lot of people get really discouraged, they get really set back, they get really bummed out, but there is no good or bad at meditating, and there is no good or bad in yoga. It's all just a practice. And when you treat your fitness and your nutrition like a practice, then you really are you're really creating a major psychological hack, because that's when you start really putting more effort in to develop your practice and develop your skills, rather than say, oh, this is going to work, let me do this so I can get that. Not the best approach, because that's going to look different for everyone. And, you know, if you're just following someone else's playbook, there'll be a lot of times where you fail because you're not individualizing. So it's important to customize your approach, your training schedule. You know, make it yours, make it something that you can stick to, make it something that will inspire you to do it every day, and something that you can be consistent with. To wrap things up, I mean, because we covered a lot of different topics, what would you recommend for people that are starting yoga? I mean, or meditation? I mean, what do you feel what was maybe a challenge for you to overcome, or what was maybe the mental shift that you had to make to focus on that? Because I think there's still a lot of people that don't do yoga because they feel like they're losing gains, or they're not going to be seeing progress because they're not at that high intensity. Everything has to be high intensity now, right? Everything's extreme with diets. Everything's extreme with exercise and beating, you know, you want to be bleeding and fucking wiped out in a puddle of your own piss on the floor. And yoga is like, well, I'm not really working. I'm just kind of breathing and I'm holding it down. What would you say to people that are maybe
me, brother,
hesitant?
yoga is hard.
I agree, but so what did you have to overcome? What was your process? What would you recommend to someone that's hearing this and thinking, I'm getting closer to starting, I'm not quite yet convinced?
Honestly, if you have any inclination to do yoga, you have any need that you think you should do yoga, that you want to do yoga, do yoga. Just don't think about it. Just do it. It's, for me, it was, I sat on it for so long, and I really regret doing that, when I should have just, been like, I should have just done it. I think that, whether you have an injury or you're overcoming one, or you just want to be flexible and you want to learn about yourself, you need to do yoga. I think it's gonna change so much. Mentally, for me, it was right off the bat, it was, oh wow, I can't get that full range of motion that Alex is getting, and
yeah, right.
I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, I'm still to the point, like 3 months in, where when I do child's pose, like my hamstrings barely touch my calves. Like, and that's the thing, is if you're afraid of, I can't do that, that's not what it's about. It's not about, doing it the same way as somebody else. It's the same thing, like you said, like everything is individualistic. Everything is based around how your body works, how much range of motion you have. And Alex, and that's why I love Alex. Like I reached out to her on Instagram, thanking her for what she does in Swole Norma's yoga, because she's very vocal about you know, it's okay that you're not able to get to this point. Like, it's a journey. She's very good about expressing that it's all a journey, and learning about yourself and finding out where your body is and where it can be and how to take the road to get there. And I love it because I've learned so much, just where, like, how I carry my tension, like my posture's better, my ability is better. Like, dude, if anybody has any type of want or thought to do yoga, just do yoga. Like, there's no reason not to. It's gonna help you, and you're gonna see so much results, just not in that realm, but like even if you meditate, like, because there's meditation in yoga, like, because I'm doing yin yoga right now and I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. I'm sitting there holding my leg at a weird angle. Like, I've never even thought I could get my hamstring to bend like that. And, you know, just breathing through. And after a while, it's just like, I don't even want to leave this pose. It's funny because it's like you think from where you start to where you are. It's like, man, you know, you don't think about it, but really,
yin is great, man. I've fallen asleep in child's pose, like going to the sides.
Oh, dude, it's so relaxing.
It's so
that
relaxing.
One is Shavasana. I swear, like, at the end, I look like, it's weird because people look forward to the end because, oh, it's over. No, I'm having a grand old time just laying here. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, any quality or really intelligent yogi will tell you that's the hardest pose, the Shavasana, because that's the meditation. That's like the laying still with yourself. And when you go inside and you go inside your own mind, that's where people get lost. That's where people get, and there's so many people that are, there are so many people that don't do yoga because, oh, I can't do yoga, it's too slow for me. Those are the people that need yoga the most. The people that can't slow down.
Do vinyasa. Tell me that it's slow.
Right. Well, and that's where the education, where people miss the fact of they just don't know about yoga. They're not aware. They're not, you know, they're missing that kind of education in yoga, and it's not available for most people. You know, people don't grow up understanding what yoga is and all the different types of yoga, and there's different instructors, and you have to connect with you have to feel good in your environment, whether you're doing it at home, whether you're doing it in a class. But absolutely, you know, it's one of those things where it's a moving meditation for sure, and it teaches you so much about your body, and it's very humble. You know, it's very humbling.
Yeah.
To people that
I found out really quick that it was a lot harder than what I was gonna be, but you know, I'm that type of person where I like a challenge. So, like, when I started doing it and realized that I wasn't able to do certain poses as good as I thought, I was like, okay, so we're just gonna improve from here. And yeah, I just saw a question. As a starter, how often you should do?
Don't worry about that. You could do it every day. It depends.
Relative.
Yeah, it's all relative to what type of yoga you're doing, your experience. So, meditation you could do every day. Yoga I would start with a couple times a week, depending on the intensity of the yoga. There's many different kinds for everyone that's listening. There's power yoga. There's vinyasa.
Don't do vinyasa in the same day.
No, right. I mean, I used to do that stuff. There's different levels of vinyasa. If you go to a class, there'll be intro. If you're just starting, I would recommend going to a studio. You could also join up with Swole X. All members have access to unlimited yoga classes that are uploaded every month. So the archive is growing and growing. Have you tried the new wall class? Did you see that one?
No, I saw that it's there. I'm looking forward to it. I just got to find a wall in my house because most of it's covered by furniture.
I know. That's why I thought. I'm like, I'm not sure if everyone's gonna be able to have. I don't think you need that much space on it. You just need the ability to like lean up against it, and I'm not sure if there's any kind of splits against the wall. Splits are great against the wall, but I don't know if you need that much space. I forget. I did it like.
I do yoga today.
Yeah. Today is going to be.
Thinking about doing legs today, and depending on what, because I'm going like category to category rather than like sporadically going through and picking a class that looks interesting. I'm just like kind of going at a. I don't know. I'm kind of OCD that way.
Well, wait till you get to wait till I post the level 3 in there. So that'll be a nice
Oh God,
challenge.
dude, level two is hard. I
I
was
know.
sitting there like, oh my God, the first time I did that vinyasa though, like that level 2 vinyasa, I was soaked in sweat.
I
Like
know.
I had the fan blowing in my face. I was dripped, dude.
Yep. I mean, level 2 is great. I mean, level 3 is yeah, that's probably
I'm
the
gonna get Ian for upper body today, so that I could do that.
yeah. I mean, so there's always gonna be new stuff there, but you just get. I mean, you start to get to the point where you're able to add in your own flows, or like even like on the spot. Let's say you're somewhere and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna do a little stretching, and then you just practice it. When you realize that yoga could be your own, you could follow a class, but then you can kind of do something, custom to yourself. I'm more the type of person that I need to follow something. In terms of yoga, I like to relax my brain. I like to not have to think about it. I'm getting better. I'm trying to force myself, to practice just me, the mat, and do it. I do both. I do both. I do the same classes that you're doing in Swole Enormous X. So, I mean, I love it. I love it all. I love being taken through a specific style of poses. I also love just getting on the ground and doing some foam rolling and some deep stretching. I mix it up. But if you're making that a priority in your training, you don't go back, because once, and this is how I feel, when I don't lift for a few days, I don't feel weak and like completely off. When I don't do yoga or stretching for a few days, I feel like a piece of cement. I just feel stiff.
Yeah,
Like mentally
there
and
was
physically.
a point where. Go ahead. Sorry, I get excited.
No. I'm just saying, like, I notice more of a difference when I don't do any kind of mobility for a day or two, rather than let's say I just got busy and I couldn't make it to the gym 2 days in a row. I won't feel like completely off. I'll be like, oh, I took 2 days off. I'll get back into it. But if I don't do mobility or my stretching or meditation, I notice that like night and day.
Yeah, and I was gonna agree with you, because for me, going to the gym is easy anymore. It's so much a habit that it's I work split shifts at work a lot, so excuse me, and it's a priority to go to the gym between shifts. That's perfect timing for me energy wise, and I go in, I get my workout done, and I go back to work, and then I come home and kind of unwind from the day, and then but so like there was a point there a couple months ago where like I said, I do yoga once or twice a week depending on what it is. Like I make it a priority to do yoga on Saturdays, because Saturdays are a good day for me to do it. And I think I missed like 1 week of yoga, and then I didn't do it during the day. Like I was to the point where I was in like level 2, and it was the vinyasa, so it's like a lot of times like I was like, okay, this is harder. I'm a little sore from that, so
Right.
I'm not gonna lift and do this in the same day. I'll just push it off till Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a point where I went 1 to 2 weeks without doing yoga, and I felt a difference. Like I was not mobile as mobile, I should say. I wasn't as flexible. Like I felt stiff. I felt like crap.
Yeah,
I
for
felt
sure.
I felt like utter crap, and I was lifting every day. So I was like, this is like I should feel okay because I'm lifting, and the difference that I felt from lifting as to what I feel when I lift and I do yoga, dude, I feel like I told you, like I feel like a completely different person. Like I don't know, I'm happier. I'm more focused.
It's hard to go back from doing yoga. It's hard to go back from doing yoga or meditating. I find it hard to fall off more like permanently. Like I get back on it pretty quick, because the hole or what was left behind is so gaping. Like it's just so noticeable that you just don't stray from it too far. Mm-hmm. It's so integral to my training now. Anytime I'm doing like hard legs for a while, sometimes I'll get like, I played baseball my whole life, and you just get like tendonitis. Like sometimes everyone's got their like thing that they have to, that kind of comes back after a while for whatever reason. So I know when I have certain kind of like discomforts in specific places, I know my body's telling me, all right, back off from the strength training, focus more on mobility for like the next week or two, like do some more stabilization work and less like, let me go to the gym and crush it with these specific exercises, and then come back into it slowly and I'll be fine. And your body gives you these warning signs. And the more you plug into yoga and meditation, you notice these areas of tension, you notice these discomforts, and you don't ignore them. If you approach your body and you listen, and when you have these kinds of things and you proactively work against them, you're not going to have major injuries, or at least reduce the risk of those dramatically, because you're fixing things before they become a glaring problem. And most people wait till they're in a freaking body bag before they change anything, and it's too late.
Yeah. I'm thinking about taking maybe a week off from resistance training just to do yoga and mobility stuff, because I don't know, like I've been going so hard on resistance training for so long now that it's just like the yoga and the active recovery definitely help. But then there's days in the gym where, and like I'm a lot like you. You and I are very similar in the mindset that we love to go into the gym and we love to lift weights and we love to train. But there's been days where like I just don't have any energy in the gym. It's a grind to get through the workout. Or, you know, I feel like this weird pain in somewhere, and it's just like, I'm not used to having that.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't come to the full drawn conclusion that that's something that I should do. I think that it's definitely an option, and it probably wouldn't be a horrible idea, especially if I'm staying active during the time that I'm not in the gym.
Of course.
But I'm that type of guy where I live to be in the gym, man. That is where I want to be. That's just, yeah, I love being there. There's something about it where it just puts my mind at ease. It you know, like ironically, the gym is a lot of my meditation, because my mind is clear and all I'm focused on is breathing and putting the weight up.
Well, I do. And that's one of the things that I hacked with myself to keep consistent, because it was hard originally to take time off, or when you're not going hard, you feel like you're not training, you're not getting, you know, it's one of those brain shifts that you have to realize, okay, I'm not going to lose all my progress in a week. I'm not going to lose everything. It's going to help me if I'm training, or if I take more of an approach with active recovery. So anytime, let's say my knee is bothering me a little bit, or I have any kind of, I don't stop training. I just shift the focus of my training. So I'll still go to the gym and do leg day, but I don't go heavy on squats, or I don't do sissy squats or things that put a lot of tension on the tendons or ligament. You know, I'll do single leg Romanian deadlifts, and I'll go as heavy as I feel like it. I'll do hip bridges. Anytime I have, because usually my issue, I'll have like a runner's knee, a little bit on the outside of my right knee. I used to have that in the past, probably some scar tissue in there, who knows, but I foam roll and I do my yoga, and it's probably related to my hip when I'm sitting down, this, that, and the other, the usual stuff, but it's very manageable, and I've, you know, fixed it dramatically, and it rarely shows up. But anytime it does, I just go to the gym, and on that day, instead of doing my normal leg routine, I just focus. I do hip bridges, which never bothers it. I'll do single leg deadlifts, single leg squats if I feel good doing that. And I just do that activation. I go as hard as I want, because that's only going to help it by focusing on the glutes and doing more mobility and stretching, and it goes away. And then I come back to training and I'm fine. And it's not like months and months. It's like maybe 1 or 2 workouts where I just shift the focus back to yoga. It's like my body's reminding me, hey, don't forget, you're kind of slacking on your mobility work a little bit. It's like, oops, sorry. And I just focus on that a little bit for a few days. I'm fine. It's understanding where those like warning signs are, you know, and making it, I don't know. Yeah, you have to embrace it though. You have to really shift your whole approach to training. Dudes, I mean, and women, look, I mean, people are people and everyone's got an ego, but guys especially, it's all about like, if I'm not lifting heavy, I feel tiny. And I used to feel that too. Anytime I took a day off, I'm like, oh, I'm small. No, you're just not inflamed and swollen from like breaking down your body. You need to recover. You're getting bigger. You're seeing progress when you're recovering, not when you're in the gym. You're fucking yourself up.
Right.
It's a recovery, man. It's a recovery. Yeah.
What's your split look like?
My split? I can't get that close to the ground. I can't get that close to the ground. I'm just not. I'm joking. I'm joking, by the way.
I was like, are you serious?
That's a full spread. I'm not full spread eagle yet. I can't get the whole thing. My training split. Well, I'm putting that in Swole Enormous X a lot. I'm sending out some of the workouts in the Daily Swole Club on Messenger, but I'm usually
I got the push pull one.
Yeah. I love chest and back. I rarely. Last week or 2 weeks ago, or maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went for the first time in a long time. I did like chest and triceps, back and biceps. I did it. I still don't really like it. I really like doing chest and back. I really like that combination. So I've been doing that more consistently because it saves me time. It gives me options to do it twice in a week if I want to, or on a 5-day cycle, or, it ensures that the times that I can make it to the gym, I'm getting more done. So I'm missing less body parts. Like if I split it up, like chest on one day, back on another, when you miss one day, it pushes everything back. It kind of shifts everything back, and
that's what I do with, and personally, that's worked for me. But I know I did chest and back supersets last week.
It's phenomenal.
I felt a big difference.
It's phenomenal. Like, yeah. Well, think about. It depends on what the goal is, of course, and if you're doing. Look, for me now, the chest and then the back, it's a little bit too much of a bro split for me. It's a little bit too much of like a segmented, kind of overload. I do like having some kind of layered type of training where I'm going back and forth, something that keeps me engaged and keeps me getting a lot accomplished, and, the sick pump and all these types of things. But when you're doing chest and back, let's say chest and back, legs, and then arms, that's essentially like a 3-day split. You're doing push, pull, legs, or like a upper body, lower body, and then upper body, arms and so forth. But that's a great way to get things done in a 3 or 4 day period. So it depends on how many days a week you have available to the gym. And I also change things based on how I feel. Honestly, when I do things like I did a couple weeks, maybe like a month or two ago, I did a split where I, like, for 1 week, and I'll do this. I'll go to like a chest day or a back day every once in a while, but I don't do that in the sense of, okay, I'm going to overload my chest and just crush chest until I'm in the ground. I actually will do chest and I'll focus only on chest, but it's more like a neural, a re-stimulating workout where I'll go usually light and I'll really focus on form and just complete isolation and mind-muscle connection, essentially. With like going over my form really slow, making sure I'm focusing on the actual bones that are moving or supposed to be moving during that exercise, not focusing on pushing with my hands, but pushing with my humerus type of thing, the insertion of the chest. So I'll kind of go back and I'll just take that 1 day to only focus on chest, but more like a remapping type of training. So it's kind of like every once in a while I'll do that. But for like when I go in to crush it and have a hell of a workout, I love chest and back. I really do. So I've been doing that a lot.
I only ask because I've been looking to kind of change things up. But the thing is I'm firm on believing that if something's working, don't stop doing it,
Well, why would you? Why would you?
Exactly. Like, why change a good thing? And I was just, it's the bro split. It's, the technical bro split, like the bodybuilder split. Like, I don't do them the exact days, like every week, but generally I do. Oh my God, my messenger is blowing up right now. I'm sorry. It is, oh my gosh. Okay. Close. Sorry. It was, so I generally do chest on Monday, arms on Friday. I throw back in there on like Thursday, and I'll do
why are you
legs. I've been doing legs on Wednesday lately.
Why are you jumping around days of the week? I do this on Monday. I do this on Saturday. I do this on.
I don't know. I just have like set days that I like to do it. It's just weird. Like, I feel fresh and refreshed for my chest on Monday, and my arms feel good on Friday.
That's fine. It depends on. That's how most people do it.
Weird.
It depends on what your schedule is and when you're training. So Monday might not be important for some people. Depends on if your Monday is different with a schedule and you're doing a certain thing on that day. So that's, as long as you're consistent, and if it's working, don't change it. So maybe if it's working for you, don't change your split. I try to encourage people not to do as much variety. The programs that I've released in the program weeks in the Vault and Soulnormous X, I've been telling people you don't need to do drastic changes. Like, you tweak the things, like yesterday or the day before, I was talking about changing the order of the exercise. You don't need to do completely different exercise. You don't need to change your entire split. You don't need to change your reps or your sets, change the order. It's like, holy shit, I can have a completely different workout, and you're only changing. It's like you're literally just shifting things around. It's like a scramble mode, and that's it. And it's amazing. And then when you realize, oh, how different I feel just by doing that, you realize I don't need to tweak that many things to add a ton of variety. And then things get a lot more
Yeah.
simpler because then you're able to do a lot more of the basics more regularly, which will get you more results overall. And you'll still get the stimulation and the little shocks that will keep you growing. So that's as simple as you need to make it. Just a little bit of pre-fatigue stuff. You do some other things before you do your heavy pressing movements for chest, or you do walking lunges before you do your heavier squats, you know, and you mix things up. You do hamstrings first or glutes first. You change things up in that way, and boom, you just need to change your approach and keep the same fundamental exercises, because no one ever got huge doing just only cable shit. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
You got to lift some weights if you want to make some gains.
Yeah. I know, God, it was a while ago that you sent a leg program to the Daily Swole Club.
Yeah.
And I started putting I bought like some tube bands and started doing lateral walks at the beginning of my program.
Ah, nice.
And holy crap, dude. Like, I'm
Those
still,
are
like,
great.
months later, I'm still feeling like every day I'm like sore. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm doing something. Like, I'm tearing some damn tissue.
Yeah. You're activating the glutes properly before you do legs. Your leg workout, you get stronger. There are a lot of little ways to improve leg strength, like getting out of the hole for squats, working your soleus a lot, and having strong calves will help you get out of the hole for squats. I mean, there's tons of different things that people ignore that are major pieces that are missing. And there's a lot of stuff I want to talk more about, that I want to do in upcoming episodes. I want to talk more about, like, a couple of things I just mentioned there with, you know, missing pieces. People are trying to build physiques and they're missing all those subtle aspects, like lateral tube walking. That it costs like $3. That little tube is nothing. You get a whole set of them for like $10 on Amazon, and it's such a basic activation. It's game changing, just like yoga. Just making sure that your muscles that you're going to work are ready for you to work them. They're like, okay, you're firing them, you're turning them on. We're ready to train now. Like it's a huge change, a change of approach to training.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice because, like, I'll do that, and then I'll do leg curls before my squats,
Mm-hmm.
and then my squat feels so good. It feels so stable. It feels like I'm getting decent depth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, it's been a game changer.
Yeah, man, super fire. Well, that was about 2 hours, man. Fucking crushed it. That was a hell of a convo, man. But what would you?
That went fast.
Yeah, always does when you're talking about making gains. I mean, these are the types of podcasts that really cut to the chase and really bring it home for a lot of people that are in the same type of mindset. I mean, just from the first conversation to now, and you could hear in your voice, man, the meditation, the yoga, everything, your whole approach. I mean, it's super solid, man. It's super solid, and like you said yourself, I wouldn't change a damn fucking thing. If it's working for you, whatever's working, why would you change what's working? A lot of times it's easy to get frustrated when you don't see more progress, when you don't see faster progress. You also have to stop and essentially smell the roses, look back where you came from and realize that you've made a shitload of progress already. And sometimes, and I find this with myself, with doing all the work that I do, you know, online, including my training, you have to pause sometimes and realize it's not always about doing something new. A lot of times it's just about taking a deep breath and then just keeping the pace and doing the same thing and just keeping consistent. And a lot of times it's just that simple. Anytime you want to quit, anytime you find that kind of thing that jumps up, that challenges you, it's realizing that that's all it is. It's in the moment. It's not something that's, you know, that can take you down unless you allow it. So once you have control of yourself, you have control of everything. And if it's working for you, man, like, I wouldn't stop a damn thing. Anything you have in closing that you want to tell everyone in the Swolenormous Nation? Any questions you have, or something that you want to challenge people to do, or some final thoughts?
Well, like I said, you know, if you're on the fence about doing yoga, even if you're having the thought of doing yoga, just do yoga. You won't regret it. You know, stay on the grind. It's hard, like you said, it's hard sometimes, but you know, it's difficult, but it's worth it. You know, if you're not in the Swole Enormous community, like you don't do yoga, you don't do anything, you're just tuning in for the podcast, watch the podcasts, listen to the podcasts. You will learn a huge amount. You'll get into the community and meet some great people. I know after the last episode, I became friends with a couple of people on Facebook and Instagram. So like shout out to Michelle and Dennis and Kirsty and Sherry and Greg. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. But you know, the community is where it's at. You know, it's not just going to be Dash challenging you. It's the community is going to challenge you. They're going to support you. They're going to be there for you if you need it. And sometimes you're going to need it. And, you know, you're not alone. Nobody's ever alone as you think you are. Just because they're going through something slightly different doesn't mean that they're not having the same thoughts and the same challenges as you. So if you are plateauing, if you are struggling, if you are being challenged in any way, shape, or form, keep freaking going. You know, the only time you should look back is to see where you were, not for any other reason.
Unless you just did legs and you're taking a butt selfie in the gym. You have to look. You have to look back.
The glute pump is important.
Well, you have to look back for that. You have to look back at it. That's the only.
Gotta look back at it.
That's the only thing. All right, we'll stay on the line for a second after, because I just want to follow up with you with a couple things. But everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I know you love these episodes. So if you did love it, and you want to give Steve some shout out and some love, drop some hearts in the comments right now. Where can they find you if they want to follow you, message you, contact you? What's the best place?
Yeah, so my Instagram, I'm pretty active on Instagram. It's at Ellefson, so it's STEL, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, ON. Or you can add me on Facebook, like Steve Ellefson. My name's up there, so I'm pretty. Just, shout me out. Just send me a message first to let me know that you watch the podcast. That way I know that
you're not stalking or something creeping.
Real person.
Yeah. Super cool. So, bro, I appreciate your time, and as always, it's great catching up and hearing your progress. Tremendous progress, and really, really great stuff that's gonna help a lot of people, I'm sure. And it's only, of course, if they take your advice. So, if you're listened to this podcast, to Steve and I jamming out, you need to start yoga. If you have not started, you're thinking about it, stop considering. It's in your brain. Just fucking do it. So that is, if you have any takeaway from this episode, that's what you should take away. So thank you everyone for joining episode 887 with Steve Ellefson. And I'll see everyone tomorrow for episode 888. You'll catch this on the podcast real soon. It'll get uploaded, and I'll catch you everywhere else: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all those places. So peace out, fam. See you tomorrow.